Welcome to our second introductory session where we paint a portrait of the typical American millionaire, these ordinary looking millionaires that we are learning from. Our workshop is called Lessons for Africa from Ordinary Looking American Millionaires. Our objective is to learn from societies that were ordinary, more or less like Africa today, but many years back. And now we call them the first world. We want to ask the question, how did they get transformed? What are the lessons we can pick from their experience and be able to use them to build a culture, a wealth building culture? We believe that unless we change certain things in our culture, in our way of doing things, money, financial resources alone cannot help us turn ourselves around. Someone said, if you collect all the money and distribute it equally to everyone in society, soon that money will find itself with the few people who originally held it. Why? They have a culture that attracts that wealth. They have a culture that builds that wealth, that cultivates that wealth. And so we want to paint a portrait of the typical ordinary looking American millionaires in this session. Evidence shows that they are majorly males in their 50s, married with kids. They have family. That means they treasure family. Family plays a certain role in wealth building, but also partnership plays a key role in wealth building. This research fact documented, it shows that even the age matters. Sometimes you may want to get wealthy at 18 years. You're 18 and you want to be wealthy at 18 or 20. Evidence shows that these people are in their 50s. That means they have been working and trying and learning, and now they are wealthy. 1 in 5 of them is retired. 2/3 of them who are working are self-employed. You see, that's also telling us something. Many people in Africa are waiting to work for government. Actually, evidence from Africa shows that government is at the bottom of the places where there is opportunity. Agriculture has more opportunity than government, surpassed government. ICT surpassed government. The service industry surpassed government. I think tourism also surpassed government. So these people, 2/3 of them, over 67% of them are self-employed. 3 out of 4 of those who are self-employed consider themselves to be entrepreneurs. They are in entrepreneurship. Most of the others are self-employed professionals. Many of the businesses they do are classified as dull normal. They are normal looking businesses. Businesses such as welding, auctioneering, farming, and so forth, pest control, paving, and so forth. Half of their wives don't work outside the home. the number one occupation for their wives who do work outside the home is teacher. You see, now their wives have already been documented here. They are a key part of wealth creation. They work at home. They don't work outside home. In a lot of the places in Africa, when wives work at home, they don't work outside the home, then many people don't consider them to be part of the wealth building equation. We call them housewives. They keep the house. But actually, these societies that have prospered, they know that they play a crucial role. And we shall be seeing one of the roles they play, some of the roles they play in later sessions in our workshop. These people live on less than 7% of their wealth. Most of them, in fact, about 97% of them are homeowners. And some of them, about half of them, have occupied the same home for over 20 years. You see? They don't change some of those things which have implications on their wealth building. Most of them have never felt disadvantaged because of not receiving any inheritance. Remember, we noted in the first session, introductory session, that they are first generation wealthy people. They have not inherited much, or some of them have not inherited anything. In fact, these wealthy people, 80% of them are first generation wealthy people. They are the first people to be called wealthy in their lineage. They live below their means. They wear inexpensive clothes. They drive ordinary cars. These are the drivers of the expenditure. Only a few of them drive the latest model of cars. Most of their wives are planners and meticulous budgeters. I told you the role of the wives. Evidence shows us that these people are predominantly male, but you can see that their wives, most of who work at home, they are very, very avid planners and budgeters. For most of them, their wives are a lot more conservative with money than the millionaires themselves. So you can see the wives are playing a key role. They are the glue. They are the glue that holds the money together. That money which is put aside for saving, for investment. The women are the equation. They are that background equation, that software working in the background. Probably this will challenge a large cross-section of our African society to think again about our female members of our families, the mothers, the wives, the sisters, to think again about how we look at them, how we involve them, how we deploy them and charge them with the responsibility in our bid to build wealth. You can see we are having a resource there, and many of our societies across Africa are probably under deploying the capacity in women, the capacity in wives, in these mothers, these sisters, the capacity which actually is making other societies wealthy. They have accumulated enough wealth to live without working for 10 or more years. Some of these families, households, could live comfortably for over 12 years without working to earn income, because they save at least 15% of their earned income. It's documented that they have over 6.5 times the level of wealth of their 9 millionaire neighbors. Remember, we saw that they live in ordinary places. Now, we are seeing here, and that's why they are called ordinary looking. In Africa, once we feel like we are accumulating wealth, we no longer look ordinary. We put on every symbol that emphasizes high socioeconomic status. These people don't do that. And those are lessons we could learn. These non-millionaires, we can learn a lot from them. They are fairly well educated, evidence shows so. Only 1 in 5 of them are not college graduates. Only 1. So they value education. Many of them hold advanced degrees. 18% the evidence shows hold master's degrees. They are qualified in the law, in medicine. Some have PhDs. So they treasure education. So it means education and wealth building are not enemies. They are not enemies. I believe that education elevates our capacity to attract wealth. It elevates our ability to negotiate, to design, to engage, and so the two are not at war with one another. Only 17% of them or their spouses ever attended a private elementary or private high school. So you see, they come from ordinary backgrounds. Only 17% out of 100 were in private schools. But what has happened? 55% of their children attend or have attended private schools. They have attended expensive schools, top-notch schools. 17% of the parents attended private school. That means majority never attended ordinary schools. That is 83%. But when it comes to their children, you can see they are investing in their children, in their children's education. In Africa, some of our societies, when we begin to talk about wealth, then we begin to neglect school. In societies that have prospered, when they talk about wealth, then they treasure education. They believe that education is very important for themselves, their children, and grandchildren. You see, they are looking at 3 generations, 2 generations ahead of them. So they spend heavily for the education of their offsprings. That's very important. There are many places in Africa where when wealth or anything that looks like wealth comes in from the front door, education escapes from the back door. You see? Another key characteristic about these people is that they are fastidious investors who invest 15 to 20% of their household income annually. Most of them invest at least 15%. 79% of them have at least one account with a brokerage company. However, they make their own investment decisions. So these are facts documented about these ordinary looking wealthy people, millionaires. And in those documented facts, we have a lot to learn. The most important thing is to pick those lessons and cross-pollinate them with our value systems and our culture and our personal disciplines and routines, and see how we can make things better, how we can improve our approach to wealth building. So I hope that we are really taking note of that. Thanks for the opportunity to be your facilitator in this 3-day workshop. I'm really enjoying working with you. Now we have discussed an introductory session on the portrait of a typical American millionaire, these ordinary looking millionaires. The most important thing are the lessons we pick that are applicable to improve our situation. We were told that many of them, most of them, are self-employed. In Africa, one of the things we lack is the number of people who are self-employed. Why are we emphasizing wealth building? One of the things we lack in Africa is wealth. We don't have enough wealth in our societies. The COVID pandemic that paralyzed the global community for over 2 years, it checked us, our African society, it checked us. The world was locked for 2 years, paralyzed for 2 years. Many of our societies across Africa, by week 2, we had run out and we needed support from other external mechanisms. We needed help to come in. And that devastation has left serious community challenges that we are still grappling with even after the pandemic has gone out. So it's important that we discuss wealth and improve our culture about wealth building and actually embark on building wealth and use all the opportunities we have in Africa. This century is Africa's century. Let's take it on. I welcome you to the introductory session in which we have got something to discuss, and we've called it This wealth building conversion has got nothing to do with your ancestry. Welcome.